Everyone talks about Meghan. Everyone talks about Harry. But there's one name nobody was ever supposed to hear. A woman quietly buried under NDAs, sealed files, and the kind of threats that make people stay silent for life. Her name is DL, and she just said something that could bring the entire Sussex story crashing down. I am the biological mother of Archie and Lilibet. Not a whisper, not a rumor, a claim, spoken firmly, calmly, delivered like someone who has rehearsed the truth for years because she had no one to tell it to. She says she has the DNA trail, the clinic booking records, the transport notes, all the pieces that were quietly ripped out of the official story to make her disappear. And according to sources close to the situation, she's done being a ghost. She's not tiptoeing back into the light, she's kicking the door down. And if even half of what she's saying is true, this isn't just another royal scandal, it's a constitutional earthquake that could shake the monarchy to its core. According to the woman known only as DL, she isn't just some surrogate plucked from a clinic brochure. She claims she is the biological mother of both Archie and Lilibet, her eggs, her body, her 9 months, twice. Reports suggest she's been sitting on this story for years, bound by legal agreements and fear. But now she's allegedly preparing to go public with documents she says prove everything. DL claims she was approached quietly in 2018 by a middleman offering privacy, protection, and payment that made her feel like everything would be handled professionally. High-profile parents, discreet clinic, fully confidential. It all sounded legitimate until, according to her, it wasn't. She describes the arrangement as secretive from the start, the kind of secretive rich families use when they don't want their business leaking into tabloids. But she alleges the real plan was never dignity, it was erasure. And here's where her story gets darker. DL claims that the moment she delivered, the atmosphere changed, the warmth vanished, the gratitude vanished. She says she was treated like a loose end that needed tightening, a thank you, a dismissal, and a promise of final settlement that allegedly never came. They took the children and removed me from the story like I was a mistake, she reportedly said. No final payment, no support, no post-birth medical care. Nothing. If even a fraction of this is accurate, it means the fairy tale wasn't built on glamour, it was built on silence. The internet has been dissecting Meghan's pregnancies for years, but DL's allegations give those conspiracy theories new weight. She claims Archie was delivered quietly in Colorado, far away from the royal press pack, weeks before the UK announcement. If that's true, then the "Meghan just went into labor" headlines weren't journalism, they were theater. Let's revisit what happened during Archie's birth announcement. The palace fed the world mixed statements that contradicted each other so badly they looked like a crisis team improvising. One announcement said Meghan had gone into labor minutes earlier. Another confirmed the child had already been born. No doctors were seen, no maternity ward photos, no hospital staff stepping forward, which is unheard of for a royal birth. The public shrugged it off as a couple wanting privacy, but DL alleges it was something far more deliberate, a narrative built to solidify Meghan's image as a glowing, newly delivered royal mom. And then there's the moment Meghan appeared before cameras, hair blown out, perfect makeup, standing in heels just 48 hours after allegedly giving birth. No swelling, no exhaustion. It raised eyebrows even then. But DL claims she watched that broadcast from home, stunned, because according to her timeline, she had delivered the child weeks before. She alleges the baby the world was seeing had already been in her arms before being placed in Meghan's. That was the day, she says, she realized she wasn't part of the story, she was part of the cover-up. If DL's story is fabricated, it should fall apart under scrutiny, but according to her, the paperwork is exactly where the cracks begin to show. She alleges her name was scrubbed from everything, erased so thoroughly you'd think she never existed. She claims someone told her directly, "No trace of you can remain." That is not clinic language, that is cover-up language. And here's where things get stranger. Months after Archie's birth, Meghan's name mysteriously disappeared from his birth certificate. Her first names, Rachel Meghan, were removed, leaving only Her Royal Highness. Her spokesperson blamed clerical adjustments, but clerical errors don't quietly remove a mother's name from a royal birth document. They certainly don't happen after media attention dies down. DL alleges this wasn't an accident, it was an administrative wipe to prevent a legal loophole from blowing open. She claims she saved everything: emails, text confirmations, clinic appointment logs, travel receipts, contracts, NDA language, even timestamps. At the time, she thought she was protecting herself. Now, those files are allegedly the only thing keeping her safe, and the only thing that could shatter the palace's sanitized timeline. Sources who claim to have seen small portions of the documents say they are deeply concerning. One insider allegedly said off the record, "If even one document is legitimate, the monarchy has a problem." And the most damning part? DL alleges the missing pieces aren't missing at all. They were taken from her, rewritten, and replaced with a version that removed her from her own story. This is the part no palace aide ever wanted to see written, because this is where the story stops being messy and becomes dangerous. If DL's claims are even partially true, if surrogacy was used but never disclosed through proper constitutional channels, then the issue isn't personal, it's structural. It hits the monarchy at its foundation. Succession laws aren't suggestions, they are rigid, centuries-old frameworks built on verification, witness signatures, public transparency, and official documentation. Any deviation, especially one involving secret births, becomes a constitutional fault line. If DL steps forward with evidence, Parliament cannot look away. Royal births, especially those tied to the line of succession, must follow protocol. If the paperwork was altered, backdated, or adjusted to fit a narrative, then officials could face questioning, committees could be formed, international agencies might ask for clarification on travel documents, hospital records, or passport data. In other words, this stops being about Meghan's biography and becomes about the monarchy's integrity. Behind palace doors, advisors are reportedly panicking, not about the scandal itself. Scandals come and go. They're afraid of precedent, afraid that one woman's documents could open the door to a constitutional review the monarchy has spent centuries avoiding. This isn't about Meghan being believed, it's about whether the monarchy can survive the paperwork trail. Because if DL proves the births occurred under another identity or without proper declarations, the crown won't just blush, it will tremble. Meghan Markle has never been shy about controlling her narrative. She's built an empire on her voice: interviews, podcasts, glossy magazine spreads, carefully curated photos. But now, silence. Thick, calculated, almost suffocating silence. No lifestyle launches, no paparazzi strolls, no new podcast deals. Hollywood insiders say the shift wasn't organic, it was strategic. Producers aren't cutting her off, they're stepping back, watching, waiting to see if DL's story becomes the next global wildfire. No brand wants to be attached to a woman who might soon be accused of rewriting one of the most heavily documented events in royal history. Even those within Meghan's tight inner circle whisper that her silence isn't strength, it's fear, it's calculation. Sources say she's meeting with advisors, reading legal briefs, digging through every document she ever signed. She's not preparing a response, she's preparing for survival. Because if DL comes out with proof, Meghan's entire public identity collapses: the humanitarian, the mother, the feminist icon. All of it risks being viewed through the lens of deception, and that, for someone who curated herself so meticulously, is a nightmare far more terrifying than any tabloid headline. Meghan isn't silent because she's above the noise. She's silent because she hears the ticking, because somewhere out there is a woman holding documents that could redefine everything the world thinks it knows about her. Silence isn't her strategy now, it's her shield. While Meghan retreats into silence, Harry isn't managing his crisis nearly as smoothly. Sources describe the prince, who once prided himself on emotional honesty, as now collapsing under the weight of secrets he never thought would explode. Friends describe him as restless, pacing, unable to sleep. One insider claims he's been whispering to confidants, "I just wanted to protect them. I didn't think it would go this far." Harry isn't panicking over surrogacy itself. That isn't shameful. What's crushing him is the secrecy, the deception, the alternative timelines, the paperwork inconsistencies. It's the kind of chaos he spent years trying to escape when he left the palace. Those close to him say he sees DL's looming revelation as a catastrophic reckoning, not for the public, for his family, for his children, for the legacy he thought he was building outside the royal bubble. And that guilt is reportedly tearing him apart. He believed the privacy was necessary. He believed the palace couldn't be trusted. But now, with silence collapsing around him and DL preparing to step forward, Harry feels the consequences tightening like a noose. Insiders say he's been withdrawing from friends, skipping commitments, avoiding even basic public appearances. One described him bluntly: "He looks like a man waiting for impact." The irony is brutal. Harry left the monarchy to escape institutional secrecy, yet here he is, drowning in a secret of his own making. Now the walls are closing in. DL is no longer the scared, silenced woman she claims she once was. Now she's allegedly organized, legally prepared, and, according to those around her, absolutely done with being erased. Her team says she's collecting everything: emails, clinic bills, hospital communications, timestamps, travel logs, and even the NDA she claims was used to bury her identity. She isn't leaking, she isn't hinting, she's building a case, carefully, methodically, like a woman who knows her truth has teeth. DL's lawyers have reportedly advised her to come forward publicly, not to destroy anyone, but to reclaim the story she says was stolen from her. There's talk of a televised interview, no PR-prepped questions, no handlers, no editing, just DL sitting across from a journalist and laying out the timeline step by devastating step. Her decision, sources say, isn't emotional, it's strategic. She wants her name restored, documented, acknowledged, placed back into the story from which she was removed. And if her evidence holds, it won't just shake the Sussexes, it will provoke legal battles across the UK and the US, where the alleged arrangements took place. This isn't just another royal scandal. This is a crisis of identity, lineage, legitimacy, and narrative. Meghan is silent, Harry is visibly unraveling, and somewhere in the background, a woman the world was never supposed to hear from is preparing a truth bomb that could ripple from California to Buckingham Palace. Whether DL's claims are true or not, the fact that they're being made at all creates chaos the monarchy can't ignore. Because once questions about succession and documentation enter the conversation, they don't go away quietly. They demand answers. And right now, the palace has none it's willing to give. The world is watching, the clock is ticking, and DL is getting ready to speak. What happens next could rewrite royal history or expose the carefully constructed fantasy for what some believe it always was: a story built on silence, secrets, and someone else's sacrifice.